This is John Bailey, the epic voice of Honest Trailers, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. It's a Fangirls podcast with five-ish people. The tangents and squee will continue. Squee.
The tangents and squee continue all the way to episode 142 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. The Earth is just one territory in a war that's been going on forever. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week. We go on the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Belvedere.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello.
Hello.
We are quite the ish this week.
Yep.
So, but we're small, but we're mighty, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Small in numbers, strong in the fields. How's that?
Yes.
Oh. All right. Well, we'll jump, I guess, straight into news. Been very slow news-wise, which you don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, how far are we away from Phantom Christmas, though?
Not that far away, actually.
Yeah, so it might be a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's start with convention announcements. Speaking of Phantom Christmas, things like Phantom Christmas. So Fan Expo Canada, we had the news last week that they had announced John Barrowman and Catherine Tate, but apparently Team TARDIS needed to grow by a certain bad wolf, so they have added Billie Piper as a guest, which should be quite fun. I'm kind of jealous.
Me too.
Oh, but yeah, that's exciting. So Billie is she doesn't quite have John or Catherine's personalities, but she's definitely a bit of a free spirit all in her own. So, but of course, anytime you have the influence of John Barrowman, you know, anything can happen. So, but those attending Fan Expo Canada, you're in for a good time based on the guests that they keep announcing. So, and this will got a ways to go before their convention, so there's probably still a good number of really awesome guests to be announced, which is even more exciting. And then the other convention announcement is the Hall of Heroes. They announced their convention dates for the Hall of Heroes Comic-Con for next year. As you remember, I went to the inaugural show earlier this year, and Frostbite took us off. Apparently, they took that into account and decided to move the convention to later in the year when took us freezing is less likely, although this is the Midwest. So, anything's still possible. Anyway, Hall of Heroes Comic-Con next year is September 8th and 9th. So it's still going to be 2 days. And that's all they've really said as far as announcements. So I don't know if it's still going to be the same location or if the date change also has something to do with new change. Not that it really matters because I won't be able to go because I'll be in Alaska when that's going on. First world problems. I will be on a cruise in Alaska. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to miss it. I will try to live. Try to live with myself. But I guess if anyone wants to go, there you go. Mark your calendars. September. That's it for convention announcements, really. And then in other fandom news, Netflix actually has announced the cancellation of 6 shows, which we're not quite used to hearing Netflix say, hey, we're canceling stuff. But TV is TV, no matter how you get it, I guess, and numbers mean something. Most of the shows, actually, I'd never actually heard of. The only one that may be of interest, I know it at least is to Mitch if she was here, and I know she's actually actively petitioning to try to reverse this decision, is they did cancel Sense8 after 2 seasons, which the fandom of that particular show is not very happy about it. I can totally understand. One, I haven't got around to watching it yet. It's on the list. It's moved up the list because I don't know now if it's going to disappear from Netflix. We were talking about that before we started recording. It's like, how does it work if Netflix cancels something that's a Netflix original series? Like, does it still remain on Netflix and you just get to watch up until it got canceled, or will it get removed eventually? None of the articles I read really said anything on how that works. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But in the off chance, I guess it disappears, I need to move it up the list and watch it. But it's definitely a unique show. The premise is unique compared to what you see on a lot of mainstream TV. And I also know it's also it has a very strong following because of its very positive portrayals of the LGBTQ community. Representation. I totally get that. Well, I don't, I'm not a member of that community, but I totally get the need to feel like, you being represented in media these days. So maybe if enough voices are heard, Netflix will change their mind. I don't know as far as like budget is concerned where it fits on that scale. That was another thing we were talking about before we started recording, is some of the other shows, at least 2 of them that I know of, are super, super expensive to produce. The cost per episode, especially Marco Polo, was like more money than I could think of having just for what they may pay for one episode. Like, I will take the budget for one.
A third of a box office take for a weekend.
Yeah, like budget for one episode of Netflix's Marco Polo, and please put that into my 401k.
Right?
Yes.
I would be very, very happy.
We'd all be happy campers.
Heck, I would take like 10% of the budget of one episode of Marco Polo and have that put in my retirement. I would be happy. So. I mean, it's like Game of Thrones level expensive, but Netflix, like we're in our discussion, it's like Netflix, they don't have the advertising like you do for something like Game of Thrones, where, it's on broadcast TV, so you get ads and that play while the show is airing, plus all the advertising that goes with it. In merchandising, Spaceballs reference. The Netflix shows don't seem to quite have the same as some of them don't have the merchandising levels with some exceptions. Stranger Things, all you have to do is walk into Hot Topic, but I think Netflix is still trying to figure out this whole Netflix exclusive programming. It's like Netflix has been around for quite a while, but the Netflix produced shows are only a few years old, and I think they're still trying to. How do we afford to make these shows while keeping the Netflix subscriptions, fairly inexpensive and not start getting into cable TV territory? But if any of those shows that got canceled are like, oh my god, that's my favorite show, tweet and email, I guess, Netflix and say, hey, you hurt my feelings by canceling this, and maybe they'll change their mind.
Hey, it's possible. It's happened before.
It has happened before, kind of, in some cases. Some shows have been brought back, some, kind of got their conclusion in other forms. Firefly.
Yep. Yeah, because recent shows that have been canceled in reverse that come to mind is Jericho
Yeah.
and then Timeless.
Yeah.
That was a quick one.
Yes.
Yeah. I tried with Forever, but that sadly did not work.
Yeah. Yeah. Timeless got canceled and renewed so quickly, you almost wonder if time travel was involved in bringing it back.
Yeah.
Right?
No kidding.
Someone's like, no, we gotta fix this atrocity. Oh, never mind, it didn't get canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right, well, that's it for fandom news, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
New month. Book club.
New book for the Traveling the Vortex Doctor Who book club, and it is Diamond Dogs. It is a 12th Doctor and Bill with, I'm halfway through, so.
Even in
So
book
far,
form,
so
Matt
good.
Lucas is not a main cast member.
No.
He is recurring.
Yes, he's recurring. So, and there's been one, maybe two blink and you miss David Bowie references. Well, the title of the book
Yeah.
itself.
Is a big
and then
David Bowie reference.
Yes, and then one of the characters is kind of refers itself to a David Bowie song.
Nice.
Queen, and you fill in the blank.
Yep.
Family friendly podcast.
Yep.
So there might be some more. Like I said, I'm about halfway through, so.
Cool. Very cool. I'm so behind.
Yeah. Don't worry. I have with most of the book discussions for those who are just newbies coming into the book club and want to read the older books first before coming into the current ones. I haven't closed any of the discussions, and I'm not aware of Goodreads going in and saying it's been inactive so far. We need to close it. If that happens, just send me an email and I can open up the try to figure out how to open up said discussion. So
Cool.
we can do the wibbly wobbly tiny route. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, good. Cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was doing really good. I was reading a book a month and then just breaks.
Well, you had your wisdom teeth out too there.
Yeah, that kind of threw things for a tailspin there for a little bit. So.
Yeah, that kind of puts a dent in.
A little bit. Oh. So, anyway. Awesome book club. And I know we've got new members for the book club because the guys over at Traveling the Vortex made that a thing. Essentially,
yes,
there was a recruiting effort. So.
And be on the lookout. I might put up the poll for next month's book in the next couple of days. Just as long as I'm thinking about it, there's enough time to vote. But then I might wait a couple weeks too. So just keep an eye out, and I'll try to make a post too as to when the poll gets posted. So, and feel free to put in suggestions. Because I also know Lethbridge Stewart is going to be making a comeback appearance.
Yes.
The next run of books are going to be coming back too.
Yep. Thanks again for the reminder of how behind I am.
Sorry. But I'm just putting it out there. So
I know.
Every single time I come with a Lethbridge Stewart book.
It's not your fault. It's my fault. I'm slow. But anyway.
No, you're taking the time to enjoy.
Yes, that's what it is. Anyway. Alright. That's it for housekeeping. So, once again, no photo challenge for this month, but that's okay. Brittany's a little busy.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be back.
Yeah.
Just life.
No biggie. It's all good. All right. Do housekeeping next. Alrighty then. I'm going to give my quick non-spoilery review of Wonder Woman. So I saw Wonder Woman the Thursday evening showing. I actually went to Studio Movie Grill. It's on the northwest-ish side of Indianapolis. So it's one of those places where it's like the nicer seating and they've got a full menu. So you're not just eating just popcorn and candy, although they have that if you really want the traditional, I guess, movie-going experience. But they have things like, burgers and fries and pizza and desserts and alcohol, which is always fun.
I kind of hate to see those prices for those. Or is they relatively decent for a movie theater?
It wasn't bad, actually. I mean, it would be... pricing-wise for the food was actually probably what you'd expect from, like, an Applebee's.
Okay.
So, essentially it's going to, Applebee's before going to a movie, but you get it all at the same time. So...
Okay.
So it depends on there's several of these chains out there that are like that. There's a Studio Movie Grill. There's Alamo Draft House, which I've been to one of those. And then
I think that's like the most famous one.
Yeah, and then there's the Flicks Brew House that we have. We have one of those up in Carmel. And I will say, theater-wise, Flicks Brew House is definitely the best of the three. You definitely pay quite a bit more for your movie theater tickets just to go to the movie, but you are paying for a much nicer experience. The seating is so plush. It's like leather chairs and it's like, really nice countertops in front of the seats, and then you get a little tray that slides out for your food, and it's this really good sound. So you're paying for the theater experience, and then food is probably still about the same. So it's paying for, but you look at like just the cost to get into the door, and you're like, what? And it's like, no, because you're paying for a really nice theater. Alamo Draft House is probably about what you'd expect for most, just a regular movie theater as far as the ticket prices. But the seating is not nearly as nice. At least the one that I go to. There's one up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, that we've gotten the habit of going to over Christmas break to go see Star Wars. That's a thing. It's very convenient. So the seating's not nearly as nice. The sound is still good, just because movie theaters, kind of have to be like, decent sound at least. And again, the food, I think Alamo Draft House, their menu isn't quite as large. That's the other thing with Flicks Brew House, like a really big menu. So Studio Movie Grill, this one I hadn't been to. I would say seating wise, it's better than Alamo Draft House, but not nearly as good as Flicks Brew House. The seats are still real nice. They're leather kind of chairs. You're not connected to your neighbor, which is good. And you've got, except for those on the end, they have a stationary table, I think. All the others have like a table. If you remember, I'm dating myself here. I remember in like elementary school, the chairs or desks had the wooden top that would swivel. And you could swivel it aside and then sit down and then bring it back.
Yep, I remember those.
This is the way that
I don't.
Yeah. This is the way that at least this Studio Movie Grill, the chairs, the seats are set up. So you've got the little tray that swivels out. You sit down and you swivel it back, and it's got a little button. And you push the button, it lights up, and that lets the servers know that, hey, I need something, or I need to order, or can I get some more napkins? That sort of thing. So their menu, still not as extensive as Flicks Brew House, but still a decent choices. amount of choices. I was a little bit deciding what I wanted to order, even though I'd looked at the menu online several times, and then I get there and I'm like, I still don't know what I want to order. But I was towards the back and almost dead center as far as my seat. So I had a really nice seat. I lucked out there because you do get to pick your seat beforehand. That's the nice thing about all of these types of theaters.
Oh,
is
cool.
You pick your seat beforehand, so you don't have to worry about jockeying, trying to get a seat. Yeah, you pick it, and then you go and sit down, and you don't have to worry about someone taking your seat. So that's nice. So the food was good. Once I decided what I wanted, I had loaded cheese fries. Those were really good. And then I also had beignets that were stuffed with Nutella, which those were really good. So I highly recommend the Nutella stuffed beignets. Yeah, the cheese fries were really good too. Big, thick cut fries. Anyway, I'm making myself hungry just talking about it. I'm like, is it time for this? So that was fine. Anyway, that was my experience. I just wanted to kind of put that out there just in case someone's like in Indiana and like, just goes to regular movie theater and kind of wants to maybe try something a little different. You've got Studio Movie Grill and then, Flick's Brew House, which those are both on the north side of Indy. So if you're like me on the south side, it's kind of out of the way. But if you want to treat yourself every now and then, it's all good.
I might have to look up, see if there's any near me.
Yeah.
If not, I guess I have another reason to visit Indiana.
Yes, come to me. We'll go. You have to stay long enough that we can go to Fazoli's and then also a movie. You get lots of meals. Come visit me. Anyway, so there's options there, obviously. Wherever you live, go movies. Anyway, but obviously the whole point of me being there was to see Wonder Woman, and oh my God, so good.
I've heard that. I'm so excited. It's the first time I've heard really, really awesome things about a DC movie, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a DC fan, really, by any means. Like, I enjoyed the Dark Knight trilogy, the 2 out of the 3 I saw. Actually, I haven't seen the 3rd of the Dark Knight trilogy with Christian Bale's Batman, but anyway. I refuse to see Batman versus Superman. Just out of sheer principle at this point. I know enough that I will be fine when Justice League comes out. I'm good.
The only thing I am that I might watch Batman versus Superman is because I have one friend who won't leave me alone because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I'm not that big of a fan, and from what I heard, I don't think, but whatever.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think you need to have seen Batman vs. Superman to see Wonder Woman. But I was excited for, a female-led superhero movie. Especially one directed by a woman. So this had a lot of pressure riding on it. And it delivers. I mean, it's not perfect. It's really funny because I was talking to KJ, actually, because she was the one that organized this. She does a KJ's Nerdy Night Out for some of the geeky movies that come out, and she get people can come before the movie, and she's got a section of the bar area that's out in the lobby roped off, and little nibbles and stuff, and hang out and talk about how excited we are about the movie. And I was talking to KJ as the credits were rolling, to her and her husband, and I will say that it's an origin movie, obviously. For Wonder Woman, but it struck me as funny, and it's obvious, I guess, if you watch enough superhero movies, and especially if you're familiar with the Marvel Universe, is the Wonder Woman, this Wonder Woman origin movie, plot-wise, is kind of eerily similar to Captain America: The First Avenger. Except Wonder Woman is Steve Rogers. Now, obviously, she's an Amazon. There's no, super soldier serum. She's a bad mamma jamma from the get-go, just because of her origins. But just the story, it's set in World War One as opposed to World War Two. There's this big bad that's trying to essentially, destroy the world. And this hero who everyone else thinks, Wonder Woman is like, this is my job as an Amazon to protect the world and protect those who can't protect themselves because of, all these innocent people dying in World War One. And you've got these people around her. It's like, yeah, what are you going to do? And, people were kind of the same way with Steve Rogers, or Steve Rogers was all like, I really want to help with the war effort. And people are like, yeah, no, what are you going to do? And then Chris Pine's character, Steve, of all things, Steve Trevor, is essentially Peggy Carter. to Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman / Captain America. It's quite funny. Yeah, it is quite funny. And I don't know if that was purely intentional or if it was one of those things because Marvel and DC would constantly steal from each other.
Excuse me, that could be.
So,
That's possible.
The source material is one of those things where it's like, if we just take this and, instead of it being a guy, it's a woman, kind of thing. And no, not World War II, but World War One. I don't know. But it just struck me as funny. It didn't bother me any, but it struck me as funny. So, and
It was kind of like,
there's a scene towards the end that is very parallel to Captain America: The First Avenger, but I can't say anything because that's a big spoiler. But it's yeah. Like
they say, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
I guess so. But Gal Gadot, she's amazing. She commands the screen, and Wonder Woman as a hero, and especially a female hero, she's a hero. I mean, she may be a woman, but they don't really treat her like a woman. Yeah, there's a I mean, they don't treat her like she's some delicate flower, because Steve has seen what she's capable of and what the Amazons are capable of, because we've seen that in the trailers where she rescues him, and then they have the invasion on the beach, on the where the Amazons live, and they have this big old fight scene, and all of the Amazons. Granted, we don't see the entire population of the island. We see the warriors, but we do see a few others when there's a scene where Diana's running through the streets of their village or whatever it is, and there's people, there's teachers, and there's people that aren't warriors, but for the most part it focuses on the warriors. And the warriors, the Amazons, are a very diverse mix. They're all bad mamma jammas, but there's younger ones, there's younger ones, there's older ones, but they can still kick butt. There's, black and white and tall and broad, and some of them are scarred. But they don't care, because they're the Amazons. That's what they do. They're
no damsels in distress here.
There's no damsels in distress whatsoever in this movie. Wonder Woman, Diana, she's never treated as an object. There's not really anyone oogling her because of her figure. we have that whole scene that we saw part of it in one of the trailers where they're trying to get her to try on other clothing with Steve's secretary. And that's quite fun. The secretary's awesome. I wish she was in more scenes, actually. But yeah, I mean, she's handled so well. And I don't want to say that she was handled like if she had been a man, because she's not that either, but she's not treated like women usually are treated in movies, which is really, really great. And yeah, the fact that this was directed by a woman may have a lot to do with it. And it may also be just the fact that, Wonder Woman she's awesome and she will kick your butt if you tried to oogle at her legs, So, but yeah, it's so good. I really hope that DC has learned something from this movie, and going forward, will treat the rest of the DC universe with the same respect and thought that Wonder Woman was treated with. Because if that's the case, then they could really bring the fans back. Because I know how many people were really disappointed with Batman versus Superman. It's like, oh, we're doing the Justice League, and this is going to be this thing, and we're going to compete with Marvel, and it was just crap. Save Martha! This is... They heard the cries, and, took that into account with Wonder Woman, and I think they've learned, hopefully. So, Justice League will determine whether they learn their lesson or not, or whether this was a one-off. And it's colorful! It's so colorful! Like, Andre from Black Nerd Comedy, he posted his non-spoiler review, and he's like, someone at DC was like, hey, did you know there's this whole other color palette over here besides gray and black?
Nice!
And he's
Welcome
right!
to the wonderful world of Technicolor.
I know! It's like watching TV and it went from black and white to suddenly color. It's like, oh my goodness, who knew? What is this, red? Oh my goodness. So yeah.
This might be the first DC movie I've seen in theaters.
Yeah. I saw Suicide Squad and I did not have very high expectations for it. And it reached about the bar I had mentally set. So I wasn't extremely disappointed with it. I was actually quite pleased with some of it. But I'm also not like a huge fan of like the Joker as a character, so I wasn't that disappointed that so much of him ended up on the cutting room floor. So I was like, oh, Joker, bye, okay. But yeah, no, Wonder Woman, so much better than Suicide Squad. Sorry. Yeah. And the screening I went to, we waited. Credits rolling, of course, because, one, it's a superhero movie, and two, just movies in general. It's like, you kind of wait these days. Mm-hmm. No post-credit scene. Supposedly there's supposed to be one. So, stay, I guess, if you want, and you might be pleasantly surprised. And if you do get one, please tell me. So that I can send a complaint
you didn't get
to someone. Because I didn't get one. And supposedly there's supposed to be one. So, I don't know.
Unless, because somebody else I know lived in a different state, and he was just like, let me know, and then one other person told him, we went, no end scene, so I'm wondering, unless it was an oops.
It may have, because the
movie production company, and it didn't get put in.
Yeah, because the credits were rolling, and the staff was cleaning up the theater around us, and then it got to the end, there was no after credit scene. And we were like, what the heck? And one guy cleaning up was like, yeah, we saw it last night and there was one. But he couldn't tell us what it was. So he may have been mistaken. And he may have seen something else. I don't know. I would assume at the very least there'd be like, something teasing Justice League or something, but...
Right.
Yeah.
But that would be weird that they'd have it one night and then not the other.
Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone listening... has seen Wonder Woman or will go see Wonder Woman, and you do get some sort of post-credit scene, please let us know. Because that's weird. So, because I don't know if Batman vs. Superman had one. I know Suicide Squad did. So, I don't know. But that's really my...
Is that what they like kind of showed off that there's gonna be a... I haven't fully seen all of Suicide Squad.
I don't remember. I just know there was one. I think it was was that a post-credit scene? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, was that just the end of the movie or was that a post-credit? I'm pretty sure that was a stinger in the credits. It was a scene with Amanda Waller and Bruce Wayne. So I'm pretty sure that was the post-credit scene. I don't know. It's been a while. I've slept since then. I've had drugs since then. I had my wisdom teeth taken out, so that's my excuse. Anyway.
Maybe I should actually finally finish it after months of it being at one scene. I don't even know what scene that was.
I don't know. No idea. Don't trust my memory. I'm sorry. So. I'm sitting here like, what can I tell you about Wonder Woman? I saw this movie, 4 days ago? 5 days ago-ish, and I'm like, I don't remember half of what I saw already. So I'm like Dory. Kind of. So anyway, that's my non-spoilery review of Wonder Woman, as random as that was, other than, oh my god, go see it. So, and it's awesome. It's well-paced. It should be okay for kids. I would say if your kid was okay. I know KJ said that she was fine with taking her nephews, and her nephews are like 8 and 11, I think. I probably wouldn't do much younger than that, maybe. There's one scene where instead of Wonder Woman, the woman getting treated like the piece of meat, actually it's Chris Pine's character that gets kind of treated like the eye candy. And then there's a discussion between the two of them, not in the same scene, but later, just because, Diana living on this island with nothing but women, she's very fish out of water when she leaves the island to go, get involved with the war. So she's very book smart. She knows a lot of things. She speaks like 100 languages, which comes in handy several times within the film. And she's very book smart. Everything she knows has been taught from books. But she has no practical experience with a lot of things, like revolving doors. That's a fun scene. So there's a discussion.
They don't need them in the Amazon.
Yeah, really. So there's a discussion as they're leaving the island to get to where they need to go to get back to the war, and Steve's asking about her father and where she came from and all that, and it leads into a discussion about essentially the birds and the bees. So it's not anything graphic, but if you've got an inquisitive child and they pay attention, they may ask a few questions after, but for the most part, it's PG-13, so it's not anything terrible. It's obviously it's set during war. There's violence, there's war things going on, machine guns and bombs and all that, but it's not gratuitous or bloody or anything. So should be should be good for most everyone. So, yay,
Yeah.
Wonder Woman. Anyway, now that I've ranted on about Wonder Woman, let's get into feedback. So, got a little bit of feedback from Shalane. She commented several times, actually, on YouTube. But I think she was listening and then would type a comment and then listen to the podcast some more and then type another comment. Which, hey, that's totally cool. But referencing us talking about Mary Poppins because of her comment about Lin-Manuel Miranda the previous week, and I guess Mary Poppins Returns is supposed to be released Christmas next year, supposedly. But apparently I missed that announcement of the release date. But again, always subject to change, especially considering D23 Expo is coming up quickly, so announcements may happen, you never know. She also agreed with our comment about them bringing in Moana to Once Upon a Time next season. And then she also wanted to know, and this is one of the things we didn't touch on when we were talking about Once Upon a Time, is the episode with Aladdin, Jasmine, and Ariel and Hook. Because actually the whole Aladdin Jasmine thing we really didn't touch upon a whole lot.
No.
When talking about Once Upon a Time last week, we rambled on so much and we just kind of had to cut the show off. I edited the show last week and then went to upload it, and I uploaded it and we literally had like half of a megabyte left of upload space for the month.
So if we would have rambled on any longer, we would have been
in trouble. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as the Once Upon a Time season, I know we talked about Aladdin and Jasmine a little bit when they first brought them in. Actually, I don't even think we didn't, because they didn't bring them in till several episodes in, I think.
Yeah.
So we were like, they'll come eventually, because they keep teasing it, and they did bring them in, and it was kind of like they were only in for, like, what, a handful of episodes, and then they left.
Right, well, and then we had the whole big thing with Gideon and the Dark Fairy, which kind of overshadowed.
Yeah. Yeah, so Aladdin and Jasmine were not quite used to their full extent that they could have been, I think. Just because
they were kind of there for the evil queen's kind of
yeah, it was
bidding, and that was about
yeah, that was about it. So maybe they'll bring them back. That would be kind of nice. Mm-hmm. It's always good when they bring characters from previous episodes back. We did get Ariel in the one episode that Shalane's talking about, and we find out that Ariel and Jasmine actually knew each other. As Ariel's looking for Prince Eric, she ends up in the middle of the desert of all places, a mermaid in the middle of the desert. Even Jasmine is like, yeah, I don't know if this is the best place for you.
Exactly. This will not end well.
Yeah.
We need to get you to water.
Yeah. But we see that, and then in present day, when Hook gets sent away because of Gideon trying to make Emma think that Hook left her, he ends up stumbling across Jasmine and Aladdin and Ariel again, and so they have a nice little adventure, which was fun. But yeah, it was one of those. I think things that they've done this before, where they've teased, hey, we're bringing in these characters, and then they finally show up, and it's like, oh, that's all you're gonna do with them? So.
Well, and I remember when I saw that episode with Ariel, Jasmine, and Aladdin, I remember enjoying it, but with all the other main storylines kind of coming, you just kind of forgot that episode and put it out of your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a weird thing. Once upon a time, yeah. Obviously, I think we discussed this pretty ad nauseum last week. That they figured out some things and fixed a lot of things with the way the show was done, and that was great. And there's some things that they still just haven't quite figured out, and maybe the fact that we're losing or have lost, several main characters who the storylines 99% of the time revolved around. That maybe now when they bring in these characters like Ariel and Aladdin and Jasmine, that they may get some more screen time. So that it's not constantly, oh, here's Emma being the savior. Oh, here's the Charmings cheering her on from the sidelines. So, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's move on. Speaking of ABC.
Speaking of the show that's going to be
butted up against it.
Against with them.
Coming next, winter supposedly. Supposedly Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not coming back till January.
Right, because they'll have the Inhumans.
Yeah, and then some sort of break, and then it'll come back. So, we'll see, but we'll speculate out about the upcoming season here after, or as we discuss the most recent season. So, I guess the most recent pod, considering they took the Once Upon a Time formula and like, no, let's not have 2 story arcs, let's have 3. But they tied together. That's the nice thing about it, is it wasn't like, oh, Frozen and then Queens of Darkness. This was, really Radcliffe and his thing, and it having ripple effects that went through.
And then Ghost Rider.
Yes, and Ghost Rider, Yeah, start with Ghost Rider, bring in Radcliffe, and then finish with the LMDs and Ghost Rider, which is fabulous. So,
I mean, and I think it all connected well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one thing Marvel does really, really, really well, is connecting all these little threads that we don't necessarily see and can predict how they're going to connect until they do, and they're like, oh, I see what you did there. Very good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
I mean, I just remember the finale with Talbot complaining. This is like, okay, yeah, I am, the LMDs, and then we got this. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, geez, it was your lie to begin with.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple different right arms. I mean, this is nothing new to S.H.I.E.L.D. This is a cakewalk.
Yeah. Talbot's like, I don't, Coulson's trying to explain that, they're not the ones who are causing all the issues. It's, life model decoys, essentially. And Talbot's like, yeah, whatever, Phil. And Phil's like, you know what? If you don't believe me, too bad. After all the things we've been through,
were bad. Just you wait.
Yeah, like after all the things that we've been through, Talbot, you don't believe me now.
Phil Coulson doesn't bluff.
Exactly. I mean, if there's one thing Phil has not been, is a liar. I mean, he will omit things and do things, in a not so honest way, but straight up Phil Coulson is not a liar.
No, just like May was getting on him for drinking that bottle of liquor.
Their liquor.
I'll need another bottle of liquor to explain why I drank that bottle of liquor.
Yeah. Yeah. So, obviously the whole Agents of Hydra storyline with them in the Matrix. I've been calling it the framework. I still like calling it the Matrix.
And the LMD we love to hate, Aida.
Yes. Ooh, yeah. Like they
poor Fitz.
Yeah. Like they almost gave us reason to feel sorry for her. Fault. You know,
No.
he was just being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But she took it really, really badly. Aida did.
Yeah.
Like I said, a couple of times she was pulling the Johnny 5 no disassemble.
Yeah, this Aida outside of the framework being essentially human with human emotions, ways of, you know, the relationship that she and Fitz had within the framework. And them being now back in the real world and Fitz, you know, one, dealing with the guilt of the things he did as a Hydra agent within the framework, and two, essentially forgetting Simmons, you know, the true love of his life, I hope. Good ship, Fitzsimmons!
We will go down with this ship.
We will go down with this
Yes.
ship, and Fitz and Simmons almost went down with the ship. But Aida went very, oh crap, I even referenced
Off the reservation?
well, that too, but no, she went very, oh crap, what's the movie with, where he has the affair?
Oh, Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction, that's what it was. Ada went very Fatal Attraction. Not just on Fitz, but
the
everyone.
bunny rabbit. Thank
Yes.
heavens.
So instead of boiling the rabbit, she killed Simmons, but it turns out it wasn't actually Simmons. So they took us on a very strong feels roller coaster ride for like the last 2 episodes.
Yes.
I mean, even when they were still within the framework, there was a lot of feels, just because, you know, we got that first episode and we got the little stinger at the end with Daisy and Phil remembering who Daisy was, and then them working through all of that, and Jeff getting killed. With, you know, he dies within the framework as opposed to a fake Inhuman like it was in real life, where he got to be the Patriot, and he dies, and unfortunately dying within the framework means you die in real life. So, you know, Jeff is no more, unfortunately. And then we get the return of Trip. We get Trip back for a few episodes, and that made me so happy. Like, we were on this mission, you know, Jeff was like, you know, I've got this agent, he's been undercover, and he's been captured, and we need to go rescue him, and they go and release him and all these captors out of these cages, and he shows up. I'm like, Trip!
Yep. And then we had some Yo-Yo Mac feels, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely some Yo-Yo, because they, you know, they find the back door, the other back door that Radcliffe had built in. The man's so stupid yet so smart all at the same time. And everyone gets out except for Mac. Mac is there, the door's there, but he refuses to leave because he's got his daughter in the framework, even as the framework is starting to disintegrate. And he can see the disintegration. Just the few flickers, the early flickers, as Aida starts to, you know, fight, you know, Team Shield. And, you know, he refuses to leave because hope is there. And Yo-Yo, after they save everyone from the oil rig, they have to take Mac, still attached to the framework, and Yo-Yo decides to go in and hoping that she can change Mac's mind, and she can't quite convince him, so she decides to stay. And like the framework is literally crumbling around them. Like everything is disappearing. People are disappearing. Eventually Hope disappears. And they're sitting there and with Radcliffe. And of course Radcliffe is dead on the outside, and he knows that, so he knows it doesn't matter, to him whatsoever about, leaving the framework. There's nothing for him because there's no living body for him to go to. And he's trying to convince him to go, and we cut back to the real world, and Yo-Yo wakes up, and it looks like Mac's not going to, like, he still didn't decide to leave the framework, and then he finally does it the last minute. I'm like, oh my god. Like, the Yo-Yo Mac feels.
We've had enough up and down for the past 2 weeks worth of
yes.
episodes.
It's like the Yo-Mac feels were running very, very, very high on that.
There were some frazzled nerves for these podcasters.
Yeah. Though I do love that, because we get one last glimpse of the framework, and somehow Radcliffe has got himself to a beach, and the sun is literally setting. It's a literal metaphor on what's happening to him. The sun is literally setting on life as he knows it, and he's sitting there nursing a tumbler of scotch or something, and he's like, "This is the way, it all ends, not with a bang, but with a." And then he disappears, and that's it.
And then you see the tumbler drop and
to the sand.
Okay.
That's it. Like, yep, that's pretty much how it ends, Radcliffe. So. But even once we get everyone out of the framework and the framework gets shut down, there's still the issue of human Aida, or I guess inhuman Aida. Because she couldn't just make herself a human body. No, she's got inhuman abilities, and several of them. She's got teleportation powers that are similar to Gordon's, where she can just pop in and out of places at will, and then her body is can regenerate if it gets injured, essentially.
And then there was lightning bolts and quasi-quake.
Yep. So she gave herself a whole arsenal of inhuman abilities. She's like, I will take that one and that one and that one and that one.
Yeah, don't care what the price is.
Exactly. And things look kind of hopeless until Robbie comes back.
Yes. It's like, oh man, are we glad to see you?
Yeah, really. Apparently with Ada's, messing around between the framework and the real world, it opened up a little window just big enough for Robbie to get out. But I guess the Darkhold, the power behind it, is essentially the same power that is the Ghost Rider power, and therefore he and Aida, I guess, are cut of the same cloth, so the Ghost Rider is the only one that can actually kill her.
And the Darkhold isn't liking so much of what Aida is doing.
Yeah. So, and we finally, and even Phil said this too, because we finally get to see Daisy and Robbie fight side by side, because we've seen them fight each other. But actively fight side by side, and they defeat some of Ada's goons, and then Phil comes rushing, and he's like, "You did it, and I missed it. You guys working together, and I missed it."
He ships them.
He's such a fanboy.
I know.
Oh.
Phil, don't ever lose that, please.
I know. Because even I was like, yeah, they're working together, and nobody's here to witness it except those of us watching the TV. Phil's like, wait, that's that. You can mull on that later, Phil. Unfortunately, he's got bad guys to defeat. But They do. The Ghost Rider does kill Aida, but it's not Robbie.
No, that was interesting.
Totally did not see that coming. Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that coming. It's like, yeah, using the Darkhold as bait for Aida. Yeah, that's smart, because that's the one thing she wants. You know, she's got it in her
She's
head.
power hungry.
Yeah, she's got it in her head, but, you know, considering the Darkhold really, what's ever written in the book is not permanent. It can constantly rewrite and put new information in there, so therefore, you know, she can get new information, which would be really, really bad.
Yep.
So, using the Darkhold as bait, several of the team were like, Phil, you're dumb for thinking of that, but in the end, yeah, it's probably the smartest move. Phil taking on the Ghost Rider powers, on the other hand,
Not so smart.
maybe not so smart. I mean, smart at the time, because she totally didn't expect it. It totally caught her by surprise, and poof, pile of ashes. It used to be Aida. Thank you very much. But to see Phil turn into the Ghost Rider, I mean, the Ghost Rider effect is really, really cool. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, obviously they established that the power can be transferred from one person to another, because they did that with Mac, where Mac temporarily became the Ghost Rider, but that was a slightly different circumstance. This is Phil making an agreement with the Ghost Rider to take on the powers, at least temporarily, and then having to do something in return down the line that we don't know yet, but was implied by Robbie. It's like, you realize what you just signed up for, and Phil's like, yeah, I know, I'll worry about it later. But it worked. It worked. No more Aida. And no more Darkhold, because Robbie, you know, went and took it someplace safe. So hide it with Doctor Strange, or I don't know. Well, maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. But the Ghost Rider came back, you know, for the finale, and you know, there's some really, really cool shots with the Ghost Rider, both Robbie as the Ghost Rider, and then when Phil is temporarily the Ghost Rider. I'm like, yeah, I was kind of sad that he went away for a while, but at the same time, got to save a few pennies.
Yeah.
Got to up that special effects budget for the season finale. Smart, you know, it's economics. If this is what we get in return. Because the one effect, and I've seen several people on Facebook too, that's like, there's one of their favorite like shots out of the entire finale, is once Phil gets a hold of Aida and turns into the Ghost Rider, and they do that effect where they fall through several floors until until they reach like the basement or whatever. That was really cool. That was a really cool shot. I'm like, yeah, y'all found a few extra coins in the couch cushions, didn't ya? Good for you, ABC. Good budgeting, if that's what we get in the process. So, there you go. We get the nice Doctor Strange reference as Robbie's leaving. You know, he's like, I'm gonna take the Darkhold and, you know, take it someplace safe. And they were like, do you need some help? He's like, no, I've learned a few tricks, you know, since y'all last saw me. And he takes the chain and essentially uses it as a sling ring and opens up a portal and leaves. I'm like, oh, nice Doctor Strange reference.
I got that reference.
I got it. Yeah, I'm like Steve Rogers. I understood that reference. And you know, any other show, it would be like, oh yay, you know, the Darkhold's gone. We don't have to worry about that anymore. The framework is closed. Aida's been defeated. Hunky dory. Let's move on. Take a breather before next season. But no, this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Exactly. This is Joss Whedon and family.
Yes. we can't end it just there. Because now there's the fallout of everything. Not just, the destruction of property and everything that, happened with Aida and Ghost Rider and all that, but because Aida had a arsenal of LMDs, the Russian had been duplicated several times. So there's that. All the daisies that had been manufactured. There was at least one that did get activated and shot Talbot in the head.
Yep.
And they've got it on security video, so as far as the government is concerned, Daisy is a wanted woman for shooting Glenn Talbot, even though it was not her. And Fitz feels ultimately responsible for everything, and they know that, the essentially the government, the military and everything is going to come after them, and he's fully prepared to surrender himself. He's the one that got involved with Radcliffe. He's the one that kept the head from the very first Aida and all those things. So he feels a lot of guilt. But being Team Coulson, Fitz, we're not going to let you do that. So they all agree that, if S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to go down, they're going to go down together and not let Fitz be just the fall guy.
That breakfast scene in the diner was
I know.
awesome.
Very reminiscent of the end of Once Upon a Time, actually, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's just end the season in a diner. Except Once Upon a Time, they ended in a diner and everyone lives happily ever after. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we all go to a diner and men in black suits show up, and we just assume that it's, the government or whatever coming after Team S.H.I.E.L.D. And Phil is even all like, hey, they're here. Time to go. Put your hands up. And it goes all like Men in Black.
Yeah, all this play in the playbook. Yeah. This is as creative as you can get.
Yeah. Yeah. Good job
Don't
shutting off the lights
them.
and turning them on again. It's like, oh yeah, we've seen that before. And it's like, okay, we're turning ourselves in. Great. And we're like, okay, how are they going to get themselves out of this? I guess we'll find out next season. But no, I'm like an infomercial. But wait, there's more.
There's more, yeah.
Because we make a nice little jump from Team S.H.I.E.L.D. being collected to Phil waking up in a cell. And we're like, okay, they've been locked up. They're in prison somewhere. And, Phil wakes up and he puts his shoes on and walks to the window. He's in freaking outer space.
Yeah. Nuts. Yeah.
I don't even know what to do with myself. It's been like how many weeks since the finale? Like 2-3 weeks, and I still don't know what to do with myself about this. It's like, we go into these, I say this every time, it's like we go into these mid-season and season finales. And even the series premieres, a lot of times, there'll be like a stinger at the end of the episode where you're like, jaw, floor. So it's like, my blood pressure just preemptively is usually high. And I'm, white knuckling, looking at the screen like, okay, what are you going to do? 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 And then they do something, but it's so unpredictable that I'm still completely floored with how they surprise us with this show.
This crazy theory just dawned on me.
Okay.
Could this be Team Stark's doing?
I don't know.
Putting them in space?
I
don't Stark could have been given the line that this is an LMD Coulson. And time. I'm just kind of thinking with the Sokovia Accords, and remember that space station. If this is like a different remnant, I'm just spitballing here. It could be the most craziest theory that there is, but I'm just like, meh.
At this point, you could probably throw anything out there, and you could potentially be. If you had told me, "Hey, we're gonna get to the season end, and Shield has fallen again. Oh no, by the way, Phil's in space," I would have been like, "What?" And I've been like, "Okay, well, yeah." In this universe, sure, why not? But at the same time, it's like, what?
And then the other question is, where in space is he?
Yes.
Because I was trying to figure, okay, asteroids, but then there's a blue glowy thing off in the distance. I'm like, we can't be in Thanos territory, can we?
I don't know. The one prevailing theory that I've seen is that potentially this is because Phil's locked up. That's obvious based on he's in a metal cell. It's very plain. This isn't cushy by any means. Some time is obviously passed because Phil gets up, puts his shoes on, goes look out the window for a few seconds. Like, okay, Coulson, enough sightseeing time to get to work. So he's obviously resigned himself to, this is where I am. And he's got, obviously, something to do on this space station.
And then it also begs the question, what other sites has he seen?
Yes. And where's the rest of the crew? Are they there too? Or have they been separated? Is he the only one in space? Are there different stations and they're all stationed on different ones? That's, these are questions that we need answers to, and we're going to have to wait to get them. But the one prevailing theory I've seen is Phil is potentially maybe SWORD, which is essentially S.H.I.E.L.D. in space.
Okay.
It's Space S.H.I.E.L.D. is what it is. Which that would kind of make sense. If Phil is all like, this is my lot in life here, I guess, at the moment. Although, Phil, you just never know, just because he's so unflappable. It takes a lot to get Phil Coulson, like, really, flustered and riled up. So you just never know.
And when he gets to that point, you better look out.
Well, yes, that's true. So, who knows? Who knows? But we'll just have to
wait and see.
We're just gonna have to accept this show. But
It's gonna be a longer wait than normal. But, but I'm sure it'll be worth it.
Yeah, I will say that space, cool, all in itself, because we've done a lot of things, but we haven't done space really yet, and that certainly makes it seem like it's more promising that we could finally get a big MCU movie TV tie-in, because where are we going next year in the movies? We're going to space. So, it's one thing with the MCU, random, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been bouncing around from place to place to place to place because of various reasons. They've been in California and New York and Mexico, they've been San Juan, they've been out in the middle of the ocean. So them not sticking around to one place for an extended period of time could keep, signals from getting crossed where they hear about something the Avengers are doing. Although we do see, some things, because obviously Phil is aware of what the Avengers are doing, because we saw that in Age of Ultron. If you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know that when Nick Fury shows up in that helicarrier, it's not because Nick Fury decided to go get a helicarrier. It is because Coulson was working to make sure that helicarrier was ready to go if someone needed it. So
and also someone made a stupid decision and Nick Fury's going to let them know about it.
exactly.
Yep.
So, and that in timing wise, obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, both volumes 1 and 2 don't take place at the same time as the rest of the movies. They're a couple of years behind. Obviously we're going to get that time jump in Infinity War, where they'll bring everyone, that 3-year jump from 2014 to, or 2015, 15-ish to 2018, for Infinity War. So, just storyline wise and timing wise, both within the cinematic universe and in reality, it hasn't quite worked as far as, making the two really mesh. But the fact that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not coming back till January, and they are still very heavily in production for Infinity War, because I know the Russo brothers, actually, they posted something on Instagram today. It's like day 63 or 65 of Infinity War or something. So they've still got a long ways to go. So once, with Infinity War still in production, and now Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., assuming over the summer, they're working on scripts and pre-production, so once they go to start shooting the next season, that, maybe the stars literally have aligned, that we could finally get that crossover. We'll have to wait and see. It may have nothing to do with Infinity War. It may have more to do with the Inhumans, because the Inhumans, I think, take place in space, at least partially. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm excited. I mean, I'm always excited. I love this show. I love the show to death. As much as it makes my heart hurt and makes me feel like I need to take blood pressure medication most of the time. It's so good. It's so good. So, and if you're not caught up, well, hopefully it'll end up on Netflix sooner rather than later, so you can get caught up.
Yep.
Because I know Chauncey's like that. He tried, but he couldn't quite keep up. I would tell him, I would explain things to him, especially when something extremely outrageous happened, and he'd be like, without the context, he's like, okay. So he really needs to see it to believe it, and hopefully soon he can. Anyway, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm so glad it's coming back.
Me too.
Oh my, this show. It's murdered. So many feels.
All the feels.
All right. Well, I guess, dear listeners, because I know there's more than one of you, if you want to comment on the most recent season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything else we talked about, please, you can send us feedback from our website, is really the easiest, 5ishfangirls.com, the 5ishfangirls.com. And from there, you can find links to pretty much everything, or you can send us a direct email. If you got your email open, it's 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. Or you can comment on Facebook or on Instagram, or you can message us on Facebook too. Also on our website, you will find links to the Traveling the Vortex Book Club. So you can join in on that. There's also links to our Patreon. So if you really want to, if you really enjoy what you're hearing and want to financially support us, you can do that through Patreon. So the link to that is there, and also the link to our affiliate link for Amazon, and that essentially allows you to shop on Amazon and gives us a little kickback from Amazon. It doesn't cost you anything more. If you've got Amazon Prime, you can use that. That's perfectly fine. And if you support us in either of those manners, if you decide to support us in a financial sense, obviously that helps us keep the show going. Like I said, half of a megabyte left last month. So maybe an upgrade in storage space might be appropriate here, especially considering how much we're going to have to talk about later this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once we've taken care of bills and that sort of thing, the money that's left over, a percentage of that does go into our Fangirls Give Back initiative, where at the end of the year we will be donating to some very worthy charities, thanks to our financial supporters. So, so you get warm fuzzies and you get to help us all at the same time. Win-win.
Yay!
Yay! So, and speaking of contacting us and feedback, this is your last call, essentially.
Yep.
Get your feedback and questions into us for our big 3rd birthday show, which we'll be recording next week. Our birthday is Thursday?
Yep.
No, Wednesday.
Yep.
Thursday. I don't know what day it is. I'm looking, I can see on my computer.
It's Thursday.
It says it's the 5th, and I still can't do math.
Yep, it's Thursday.
Okay. Whatever day's the 8th.
Yep, it's a Thursday.
Okay. It's on the 8th. I don't know what day of the week that is. But that's our birthday, is the June 8th. Yeah. Anyway, that's also Colin Baker's birthday. Yay! I planned that on purpose. Not really, but...
Only June's the best birthday time.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yes, happy belated birthday to Brittany, too. Yay!
Yay, thank you.
So, yeah. Our big 3rd birthday celebration will be next episode, and I guess if no one sends us any questions, I guess we'll just talk about ourselves for an hour. Thereabouts. So yeah, send us your questions. If you do send us something, but you also are sending us feedback in regards to, just general feedback, or in regards to whatever it is we're talking about, it would be helpful if you designate which is which. I would hope it would be obvious enough based on the questions, but just to help us a little. If you could be like, hey, this is my feedback about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and these are my questions for the birthday celebration, that would be valid. If not, it's okay, because we're recording this next week and we'll talk about everything. So, but anyway, so yeah, 3rd birthday. I'm excited. I'm super excited. So, that should be fun.
Yes, it should.
Hopefully we're not ish next show, because that would really suck to be ish for our birthday. So, so send us your feedback. We want to hear from you, because y'all are awesome. So I know we've got listeners. Feedback is weird, and we can talk about this when we talk, about podcasting and stuff and whatever else we talk about next week. But, podcasting is weird. It's like, people are listening, but it's a very one-way conversation a good chunk of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally you'll get feedback and you're like, oh, the people listening actually want to talk back. So, but it's a weird podcasting thing that, like I said, we can talk about more next week if we want to. So who knows what's going to happen next show? That's what's fun about these things. So we just make it up as we go along, really. All right. Well, unless anyone has anything else, I guess we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Bertha saying goodnight.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's almost our birthday. It's almost our birthday. It's our birthday. Yeah. If I can only figure out how to send everyone cake via Skype.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.